Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Training, Learning, and Development community. Thanks for joining us today. We have another community member showcase. And let me take a look here. Yeah, I can see that Kim is in the audience, and I see Gerald, and our notification just went out. Let's see if we can get a few more folks in today to talk with. Farhan Quasem.
Thank you.
Rhymes with awesome.
That's right.
He just told me earlier in the green room. So yes, thank you so much, Farhan, for joining today, and thanks for being a TLDC supporter. Really appreciate that. It's been kind of fun. I talked to Jeremy. Is it Jeremy from Dreams He Do?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you introduced me to him, and that was a really fun conversation. He's very passionate about what he does, so I really appreciate that that opportunity to chat with him. And hopefully, we'll be doing a little bit more with Jeremy in maybe a few weeks. We'll see what happens. But right now, this broadcast is all about you, and you have a really interesting background. When you initially sent some of your information over, I'm like, oh, we've got a digital nomad here. And I want to just start off with, there's a few things I really want to get to, but you were kind of like your college grad, and I don't recall, where did you graduate from college?
I went to Cornell for my undergrad.
From Cornell, that's right, from Cornell. Didn't know what you want to do, and then you found edtech. How did that all happen?
Yeah, so essentially my first foray into education was right after I graduated from college. I decided to teach English as a volunteer in Turkey. And I went on to have a long love affair with Turkey, which I can talk about later as I get into my kind of digital nomad adventures. But it was really being a teacher in a classroom and seeing how technology was enabling my students, because I was actually teaching students that had neurodiverse needs. And back in 2011, there wasn't that much technology out there. So
yeah,
especially in a country that was still kind of developing its infrastructure. So I was able to really understand, okay, these are the pain points that learners have. And it piqued an interest in the back of my head, how do I use technology to leverage better outcomes for learners, whether that's K through 12, whether that's for students that are neurodiverse, et cetera. So it kind of planted the seed. And then when I returned to the US, after my stint, I started working for a major healthcare company. And as a project manager, they put me on a lot of different projects. And I was naturally able to gravitate towards the teaching elements of those projects.
Right.
So, then I got to see the corporate side of it. So I'd seen on a very limited level the classroom side of it. I was able to see the corporate side of it, and it continued to kind of, build that initial understanding that I had. And one thing led to another. Decided to go to grad school for edtech, and then once I had my credentials, whatever they're worth, it was more the experience that I got in grad school, working with a lot of great startups in the Boston area, being able to make a lot of connections. That is really what I think propelled me to kind of continue to make education, and edtech specifically, my niche that I focus on. So. Yeah, it's been almost 7-8 years since I graduated grad school. So yeah.
And you were saying that edtech, you feel like you've really found your calling. Is there anything specific to that you can talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I think learning is something that we all do. It's a constant process of self-improvement. I didn't realize that I was engaged in learning until I got into the field of learning, which is kind of like the really ironic piece of it, right? Because as a student, when you're going through K through 12, and then even when you're going through your undergrad or grad school, whatever, I think definitely for me, by the time I got to grad school, I understood the meaning of learning. I just had those experiences. But back in undergrad, and I think what we traditionally consider learning is really seen as you ingest information, and then there's no real way to know when you're going to apply that information, right? Mm-hmm. That second component was always kind of elusive for me. But my biggest takeaway over the last decade or so in this field is the most important thing is learning how to learn. Mm-hmm. And, we all learn differently. So edtech really enables us to unlock the ability of individual learners to learn how they learn best, right? So giving an individual learner all the different tools at their disposal, right? Creating that experience, nurturing that experience where they're able to have that agency and that autonomy to proceed with learning the way that they best see fit
Yeah.
is what I'm most excited about.
I love it. And I'm going to selfishly just jump into my second question because I think this part of it is so interesting. You found your spot with Dream See Do through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about a little bit how did that work? And I know I didn't have this in the questions I sent you or posted earlier, but I am just curious. How did that work? Finding that job
Yeah.
via the platform.
LinkedIn is a fantastic, huge community of, professionals. It's with any social network, I feel like there's always going to be noise. There's always going to be distractions. And I think, these are profit making enterprises as well. So you have to sift through all the noise to get to really what's meaningful.
Yeah.
For me, LinkedIn, it's been a constant improvement process for myself personally, keeping your profile up to date, really setting aside time. I try to set aside at least an hour every week, and I do that maybe in 20-minute increments, like Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, just to go into groups that I find are interesting and latching on to the comments and the posts that folks are making, and then re-commenting on those, right? Essentially, it comes down to providing value, right? The more value you provide, what you give, what you put into it is what you get out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's been my journey with LinkedIn. For Dream See Do specifically, I was looking for learning experience platforms and folks that were hiring within that domain, and I wanted to continue to build my skill set. And actually, Dream See Do is not the first company that I was able to join as a result of LinkedIn. There were others in the past as well. The one other kind of suggestion I'll make to anybody that's out there thinking about LinkedIn or using LinkedIn and wanting to use it more effectively is don't be afraid to reach out, right? There's a hesitation, I think, on the part of some of us, especially in the post-pandemic world where networking has taken on a whole new meaning, right? In the kind of virtual space. There's really no harm done to go out there and see what's out there, right?
Yeah.
If you find somebody cool that your work resonates with them, or their work resonates with you, or vice versa, just send them a message. It can be a casual, hey, I want to learn more about your work. More often than not, people are very willing to share when they find that commonality between what they're doing and what you're working on.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's pretty much the reason why people do post, especially regular posters on LinkedIn, is they're looking for that feedback, looking for, that connection with others. And so, if you see a post or someone reaching out or looking for feedback and you make that connection with them, it's I think it's a generous act. And so definitely do it. Any other professional networks or any networks at all that you participate in?
Yeah, so one of the ones that I got a lot of value from is called Lunch Club. And it's a very simple app. You basically go in, you create a profile, and then based off of your profile, they will pair you with people as many times as you want per week. Honestly, I think it could be 3 or 4 times a week. I did it for a while before I started traveling extensively. The time zones just made it very difficult, but I would try to do it twice a week. And I met some really cool people. I mentioned things like edtech, and it's meant to be like a half an hour call, with somebody that they pair you up with. And a few of those calls led to more calls and, the exchange of ideas, which I think ultimately is really what's most important.
Wow. Anyone, I did something similar. I can't remember if it was during the pandemic or pre-pandemic where I signed up for a platform that did that, and I would end up just hooked up with really interesting people. But is there anybody that stands out in your mind that you connected with?
Yeah. So one of the folks I connected with, his name's Dan. He lives in Arizona, and he actually started his own consultancy. He's been working on a lot of different technology-based solutions. So, just to be able to kind of brainstorm together around different pain points that entrepreneurs face on a day-to-day basis, and being able to have somebody kind of provide their insight in a very casual and kind of judgment-free space was, I think, really, really, really valuable.
Awesome. No, I love, yeah, it always made me nervous participating in those because you just never know what to expect. Like I remember one time I connected with a professional ballet dancer from New York, and it was just crazy having a conversation with her, and just other really interesting artists that I ended up connecting with on that. And but those things are really fun, and it's amazing, the kinds of connections that you can make, like just using some of these professional networks. Kim is asking, did you actually see the job posting on LinkedIn, the one for Dream See Do? Is that how it worked for you?
Yeah, it did actually. So thanks for asking that, Kim. Yeah, I was able to. I saw the job posting. I saw that it was a company that kind of resonated with my values. It looked like interesting work, and then reached out. And more often than not, I mean, the one kind of job related thing I'll say about LinkedIn is I've had mixed success with the easy apply button, because it's such a quick and easy way, at least we think it's a very fast way to be able to get your name. But I think that's also its downfall, is because it's so easy to do that. God knows how many hundreds of thousands of clicks they get on each posting, and then you're hard pressed to really ever hear back from them. But yeah, this
Yeah.
one was a direct posting that worked
Yeah.
out for me. Yeah.
I should find out. I should get a recruiter on here and see what that's like from their end. Because yeah, it seems pretty interesting. So let me move on to my next question. So you've been in edtech, but you have worked a variety of different jobs, like a data robot. I'd noticed you were a senior support operations engineer, you were a project manager. Um, oh, even at is it Valamis or Valamis? You were
Valamis, yep.
digital learning project manager. Were those like specifically involved with anything in the L&D world, or were you completely separated at that point? And how did those support your goals as a as an ed tech professional?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think the best way to describe my roles, or I've really ping ponged across various different disciplines, but
Hmm.
but I like to say that the common denominator for all of them was an L&D function.
Mm.
So the kind of unique take I have on a lot of corporate roles is during the interview process, when they ask you what you're passionate about and what you plan to bring to that role, I always emphasized the learning and development piece,
Hmm.
right? And I kind of encapsulated it within the overall ecosystem of building better processes that
Hmm.
lead to better outcomes. So L&D is a huge piece of that because it's such a common theme across many teams. You want to upskill your employees, you want to make sure they're competitive in the market, you want to make sure that your clients know about your services better. So part of it is educating your clients. And I've always been able to kind of narrate that story successfully within these various roles where, how are we using learning and technology to not only improve uh, our internal teams, capabilities, but also our clients' capabilities. That was kind of the common thread. And being able to do that, like at Data Robot, for example, I was the first person that they really hired within their support apparatus to build learning and development, right? So we had a global support team, 40 plus people, constantly evolving, AI technologies. So, you know, professional development was just the name of the game. We had to keep our entire team informed as to how to understand the product. It was constantly evolving, right? And consequently also keep the client informed. So, and then with other roles that I've had, I think in one of the recent conversations I had with somebody in the ed tech space, they said that they head up the PMID department, essentially the project manager instructional design department. And it's a great way to think about our roles because you'd be very hard pressed to find an ID who just does ID.
Right.
You're inevitably going to be doing project management. You're inevitably working with stakeholders. So um, that's the flavor that my experience also took on over the past few roles. Is for Valamis, for example, I was their first hire in North America to do client-facing work, getting an LMS off the ground and building content and working with their clients. But my role on paper was that of a project manager, even though I was doing a ton of ID, ton of curriculum
Interesting.
development behind the
Yeah.
scenes. Yeah, yeah.
So it sounds like for Data Robot and Valamis, you were both sort of coming in new roles for both organizations. I mean, how difficult was that? That must have been pretty challenging.
Yeah. There was a lot of, I mean, of course, I had great support. A lot of, you know, super team members that helped me get to where I am today. Honestly, I have to give credit where credit is due. I've had the great privilege of working with great organizations and teams. But initially, yeah, it was very challenging because when you're creating a new role or when you're stepping into a new role that was just created, the KPIs are on everybody's mind, right? So what is this guy going to accomplish in the first 3 months on the job? Are we going to be able to hit some metrics that we decided on? So I leverage data. I still leverage data. For better or worse. Garbage in, garbage out is always going to be an issue. But I try to make sure that any decisions that I make and any strategic moves that my team makes are informed by data, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because it's the one metric that's never going to necessarily have an opinion, right? It's totally black
Right.
and white, right? To be able to
Yep.
justify the way that you want to move forward. So yeah, at both jobs, at Data Robot, I mean, it's in the name. It was a very data driven organization. I didn't have too much trouble to build a metrics dashboard and get that off the ground. At Valamis and at other places that weren't culturally as data driven initially, I had to really inculcate that. We had to
Mm-hmm.
build that culture of data.
I'd like to hear, okay, first of all, Dream Do. Talk about that company, just because, the conversation I had with Jeremy, he and I were so aligned on a lot of different things. But
Yeah,
can you just describe Dream Do a little
absolutely.
bit for everybody?
Absolutely. So DreamSeeDo, we are a learning design platform, learning experience platform, and we've been around since actually October of 2013, if I'm not mistaken. So we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. And our entire premise is we want to be the premier blended learning experience designers for coaches and for professional training.
Mm-hmm.
So, and really our secret sauce is we've designed our entire platform around human-centered learning, right? So there's a lot of features and a lot of capabilities that are in our platform which genuinely allow the learner to contribute to the learning experience, take away from the learning experience, share and build community with their peers within the learning experience. And it's something that our co-founder Jeremy, who you spoke to, Lewis, he's extremely passionate about nurturing that type of an experience digitally, right? And also in a blended experience if the need arises, right? So we work with a lot of our clients. A lot of our clients are professional development organizations, coaches, trainers, people that are building larger and larger curriculums around soft skills, emotional learning, social emotional learning. So it's been a great experience. I've been there for quite some time now, and as a small team that's distributed everywhere, and we can get into my digital nomad experience as well. It's been a blast to see how much we can build with a small team, and the kinds of clients that we're getting, the kinds of inputs that we're getting. I think there's a huge potential for blended learning, especially in the coaching and development space moving forward, right? So we're eager to capitalize on that.
And you're the lead product advisor. So when you're dealing with clients in particular, there's probably a vast array of things that you've got to look at.
Yeah.
I mean, can you talk about what those relationships are like with your clients, how you're able to satisfy or even establish expectations for what they may want from Dream Do?
Absolutely, yeah. So we like to say that we offer a tremendous amount of value to any client that comes in to the picture, right? So unlike a lot of other competitors, we don't feature gate. We don't like, oh, you have to be a premium member and pay this much more to get our exclusive features. No, we open everything in our platform up to anybody who wants to be a client partner. And I think establishing that two-way street and being very genuine with our clients. We are a small team. We're a startup, right?
Mhm.
We're not going to be able to realistically offer the same level of, you know, uh, corporate responsibility that a Udemy of the world would be able to give you, right? But that's also our strength, right? We're able to move that much faster. When a client comes to us with a feature request, it comes to me because I'm the lead product advisor, right? And we bake that feature request into, okay, what are other clients saying about this particular behavior within our experience, right? Um, should we invest in building this out? Should we put it in our backlog? All those kinds of things, right? So I think our strength right now is we have that level of intimacy with our clients. I mean, the best way that I think Jeremy kind of describes this, and I've seen him time and again, is he's the CEO and he's on these calls. He's on the pricing calls. After I do the demo, if the client, if the prospect wants to know more about how we price certain things, he's going to be there, right? And he's going to deliver his vision and his what he's excited about with that potential prospect in a very genuine and meaningful way. Once again, because we want to remain human centered, right? So that's our big strength, and it's been a blast. I mean, as lead product advisor, I've had to wear so many different hats. I do everything from demos to building dashboards that list our NPS scores, and communicating with clients day in and day out. So learning a ton. It's one of those ecosystems that I really thrive in, I think.
That's great. Yeah. Having that, being dynamic and able to accomplish a lot of different things within an organization. That's not for everybody, but if you're enjoying it, that makes you a pretty valuable, I would say, person to have on the team. So that's wonderful. So seems like you're real busy. Are there things that you're doing right now to stay updated on things that are happening in L&D? Like you're talking about, it's human-centered design, but AI is really hot. Different things that that come in and out of our space. How do you maintain your professional development?
Yeah, it's I subscribe to a lot of newsletters, and yet I try to maintain inbox zero. So it's a day-to-day challenge, right? To make sure that I contain my inbox and also keep abreast of everything that's happening. I think it's tremendously important for professionals in our field to have a pulse on what's happening. There's really no other way around it, right? Yeah. So, I've loved the community that TLDC offers. It's fantastic. I still have a bunch of emails from the recent webinars like in my to-do inbox. I'm just like, I have to make time to watch them. Maybe on Sunday when I have time, right? Watching things and learning from the community as a whole is absolutely imperative, right? So you have to set aside time. You have to be deliberate in terms of how you schedule your time. Sometimes I try to do an hour before work to read up on things. But I also now post-pandemic, I've really made an effort to attend in-person events as well. So in the greater Boston area, we have a lot of universities. There's just a tremendous education community here. So I try to latch on to any event that I can if they have a particular a topic that I'm interested in. You just have to make time to do it. But there's one newsletter that I really enjoy now that I would highly recommend is actually called Superhuman. So Superhuman, they've done a lot of, the person behind it, Zane, has put in a lot of work on LinkedIn, kind of getting the word out. But it's a bite-sized newsletter that gets delivered to your inbox around noon Eastern every day. And it just gives you the latest and greatest in AI within a quick 5-minute summary, right? So what's happening, what's not happening. And many times there are so many cool education-related possibilities from some of these AI solutions, right? So how to design content, how to use AI to splice videos and just take something that would take 3 hours, make it 3 minutes. So that's one newsletter that I've gotten a lot of value from, just to give you an example.
Just signed up. I just signed up. No, I'm just going to throw this in there. There's also one that I subscribe to that is similar, and it's called The Neuron, which is also an AI newsletter. It's kind of quirky. I don't know exactly how to get people to subscribe to it. It's kind of fun. It's just it's all really cat themed, but that's a good one too. Yeah, and I totally agree, especially now with a technology like AI that is quickly transforming and evolving and getting better all the time. Like for instance, ChatGPT just added this visual element to it, and I tested it last night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is incredible. But yeah, it's you kind of have to stay up on this. And I was definitely a newsletter nerd for a while. I can't do inbox zero, but I have a way that I organize all my newsletters as they come in, and I do share things that are really interesting, I think, in the regular TLDC newsletter. But yeah, I love newsletters as well, just because, even though my inbox is sacred, newsletters are pretty much welcome in there for me to go through. Let me check. We've got a few comments here. I know I saw Rubina pop in. Inbox is a nightmare, Rubina. And Kim saying email filters are my sanity. Oh, thanks, Rubina. Join.theneurondaily.com. It's a good one. I think that's a fun one. But Superhuman, I'm looking forward to checking that out as well. There's just so much going on with all of that. Let me see here. I have more questions. Okay. And it is interesting to me having this sort of, alignment with Jeremy and the values, like as far as running an organization, just how we both share the same things, same ideas about how we like to make decisions around our organizations. But how about a rewarding project that you've worked at DreamSeed do? Is there anything that you can talk about there?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually earlier on in my tenure when, one of the things that I really, and I think for any professional, especially in L&D, it's really important to discover your why, right? As cliche as that might sound, because so many others have said it before, but it rings true, right? Discover your why. Why is it that you're passionate about this field? For me, beyond the learning outcomes piece and the behavior change, the application of learning piece, a big part of what I enjoyed doing at a lot of startups was actually building processes. And there's so much potential to do that when you're on a small team. So I remember when I first came into DreamSeed, having worked in the support department at my previous role, I said, "Hey, we need to tie up our entire support operations umbrella. Like, well, how is it that we support our customers, right? It's great for us to be able to have this great platform out there, right? But as we scale and as we grow, how do we deliver optimal support?" And so within the span of, I think, 2 weeks, I just took all of our inputs from a support team, or as a support team, and created our Bible support SOP, which I didn't think I could put together that quickly, right? But I had a lot of input and a lot of help from our team, and I was able to synthesize this kind of very, biblical-esque document. Like, these are our rules and processes when it comes to delivering excellent customer support. And that it helped us because it kind of was the foundation for other processes that we built. Right now, I'm working on a client onboarding SOP, right? And once again, these are all processes which they take time and energy to really, you got to talk to the SMEs, you have to build consensus, you have to craft a document that everybody can kind of rally around. But once it's in place, it can do tremendous things for you as an organization in terms of scaling that growth and scaling success and really helping everybody just thrive in the gray, as I like to call it, because every day on the job, we're just thriving in the gray. There's very few, purely black and purely white elements that we can kind of rely on. So
that's fascinating. That's great. I'm a process nerd too. I just love that stuff. And I've always felt like every organization that I've been at, that was always one of the strengths that I had, was to be able to establish some of these, define these processes so everybody knows like what the heck they're doing. So that's great. Now let's get to the digital nomad stuff, because that is something I'm really jealous of digital nomads and the lifestyle that they lead. Talk about that. What do you mean when you're talking about a digital nomad?
It's a great question, Lewis. And I think a year and a half ago during the pandemic, I think everybody was just so eager to leave, right? They wanted to explore the world and see what's out there. Digital nomading for me, I'm not a genuine digital nomad. I mean, I still have my physical address, my tax address is in Massachusetts, but I've been able to, over the past over a year, really because of different circumstances, join organizations that were okay with me being wherever, right? And more companies are doing that. Like DreamSeed, for example, they don't care where I am. I mean, I'm around. I met Jeremy for the first time last month after,
Wow.
you know,
Wow.
after 7 or 8 months of working on the job. Yeah. And, you know, whenever you get those opportunities to meet, those are fantastic opportunities to be able to get together. But generally, if you can provide value and you have a solid internet connection and there's no technical kind of limitations, there's a lot of potential within the L&D field, right? Um, so how did I get into digital nomading? Well, I wanted to. I'm going to go back to Turkey. So Turkey was where I had first been exposed to education as a teacher after I graduated college. I decided to go back. I love Turkey. It's a fantastic country, huge potential. And I have friends and family in the neighborhood. So I said, you know what? I'm going to set up shop right outside Istanbul and I'm going to see how long I can do this, how long I can get away with this. And before I knew it, it's like it didn't matter that I was in Turkey. I was still, you know, as engaged, as productive, as value providing, right, to my organization. And no one really had any issues with it, right? So I still made sure that everything stateside was getting taken care of, somebody looking after my house here. You know, my car, the battery died after a while, but I was able to get that sorted out, you know.
Wow.
So there's some things you need to work out. It's not, you can't just jump into it, I'd say. You definitely want to do your research, especially with regards to taxes and things like that. But you know, if you do your research and you're committed to really delivering the same amount of value, it's something that anybody can, I think, has the capacity to do, right? Time zones are going to be an issue. I was 7 hours ahead of Eastern time when I was in Turkey, so yeah, I would work from 4 p.m. to midnight local because that was 9 to 5 Eastern, right? So, which I kind of miss because my mornings and early afternoons were for me essentially. I could kind of go out, run errands, do whatever I wanted to. I used Turkey as a base of operations to travel all throughout Europe this summer. So I went to Italy, Germany, France. I mean, things that we kind of dream of, and you see all the newsletters, all the travel newsletter folks write about. But it's feasible. It's feasible if you find that ecosystem that's willing to support you.
Yeah.
Number one, and then number two, if you actually put in the work and are really diligent about maintaining that digital presence in a very active way, it's absolutely doable.
How about the bad stuff? What's no fun about it?
So, of course, the human connection piece suffers because you're not able to meet your colleagues in person in many cases. With DreamCDo, we're remote anyway, so those opportunities are few and far between. But when they are, they're great. But yeah, if you're somebody who craves human connection and really thrives in that, let's brainstorm together in a working group, kind of in a co-working space, that part of it will need to be thought differently or thought about differently, I would say. But honestly, Lewis, there aren't too many cons.
Yeah.
You know, we've gotten to that point, I think, as a society. I know there's still ongoing conversations around hybrid being maybe the better model in the long run, right? You would have to convince me pretty hard to go back to an office.
Yeah.
You know, even if it was part-time.
Yeah.
Because I just there's no value add that I can really come to terms with, either for me or my team. You know, it's even better, I feel like, when you do meet a few times a year, because each meeting is just so much more meaningful and that people are looking forward to, as opposed to like doing a 3-hour commute twice a week just to show your face in the office.
And Jeremy's he's in New York, isn't he?
He's in Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Yeah, he's not too far away. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. When are you planning on going back?
So I'll probably be heading back to Turkey in like January or so. I'd say in the new year. Yeah. Maybe be there for a little bit. Winter is not the most fun time there, so you also have to think about, you know, your day to day, right? In Turkey, I have better internet than I have in the U.S. And
really,
wow, it's $15 a month. Like, it's a joke, right? Cost of living is, you know, if you can earn in a foreign currency and you're able to live in a country that has a lower cost of living, you know, you're really able to make your dollar stretch that much further, right?
Yeah.
So that's another consideration as well. So yeah, looking forward to being back in the new year sometime.
Very nice. I have friends that are digital nomads and do the Mexico thing, and
I'm going there next month, Lewis.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm trying to set up shop there as well. I would love to have a Turkey, Mexico, and Boston kind of nexus going. Call
What
me
part?
crazy, Louis. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'll be in Mexico City, but I'm not 100% sure if I want to go outside the city. I love Mexico City. Honestly, if I could choose like one city to live in, if I could choose one to live in, it would probably be Istanbul. If I could choose two, my second would be Mexico City.
That's great.
Yeah, so I might venture outside Mexico City, but I'll be spending about a week there. Yeah.
That is awesome, Farhan. I love it. I love it. Well, gosh, I hope that answers your questions, Kim. You got to hear about the digital nomad piece of all of this. I think that's fascinating, and I wish it's something that I could do. I would love to go to Mexico City. I've never been. Definitely been to other parts of Mexico, but that big city is still something I have yet to check out. And of course, Istanbul. I mean, the closest I've ever gotten is, I think, like Prague. I was in the Czech Republic at one point, but yes, love it. Thank you so much for sharing all this and for
Absolutely.
being a part of TLDC and introducing me to Jeremy and Dream See Do. Such an interesting organization. I look forward to talking more with you and other folks there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and just close this out.
Sure.
If you ever need anything, just hit me up.
Absolutely, yeah. And to everybody who joined, thank you so much for joining. And feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all these other platforms. You can search for my name, and I'm the only guy named my name as far as I know. So you'll be able
to that's right. I think I connected with you. I'm pretty sure, but definitely here. Actually, let me grab your LinkedIn URL and post it in so that folks can have that. That is here. All right, and with that, let's see. Friday we have Margie Meekum is going to be talking about generative AI. We just wrapped up that AI event a couple weeks ago. I have all the recordings finally done, ready to go. I'm going to send out a message to everybody so that they can get members can get access to those recordings and watch them. I'm pretty sure I'm an AI expert now that I lived through that event. It was pretty crazy. But that'll be on Friday. And then I have this L&D and D&D event that I'm probably going to have that open for registration on Monday. And that one is absolutely crazy. So everyone's going to have to sign up for that. I'll just say that costumes are going to be involved in that one. And we have an entire adventure for everyone that's going to participate in that. It's not going to be like anything that you've ever seen in our space. So that's going to be exciting coming up. All right. And with that, I'm going to close it out. We'll see everybody next time. Thanks again, Farhan.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.